It is 11 o'clock. Welcome back in. This is Three Man Front on an absolutely gorgeous Wednesday. Thanks for tuning us in. The SEC Coaches Teleconference is currently underway. Been underway about an hour. So if anything is said by Kalen DeBoer, Hugh Freeze, or any other SEC football coach, we will pass that along. Every single Wednesday at this time, we have the opportunity to catch up with the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, brought to you by Craneworks, Chris Stewart.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rentalworks, yeah! The big dog's got it.
Crimson Tide Network's Chris Stewart on Three Man Front is brought to you by Craneworks. Lift it, buy it, rent it. The big dog's got it. And now, Chris Stewart.
And Chris joins us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Chris, I hope you're doing well on this Wednesday. Last Wednesday at this time when you joined us, you fired up the audience and fired up Alabama fans because you'd been to practice that week, and you gave us a glowing report in regards to what you saw with the enthusiasm, and that obviously carried over to Saturday night.
Yeah, I think it was a combination that was enthusiasm, but also steadiness. You know, they had prepared themselves really well for Florida State from a work standpoint, from a practice standpoint. But obviously it was something that needed to carry beyond the opening drive. And they did a very good job of that. They started fast and well against ULM. And look, we know that they're not the same as FSU. But it was said all along, it's about Alabama. It's not about who you're playing. And from that perspective, it's hard to ask much more than you got from the Tide. I thought it was impressive the way they refocused and got themselves locked in for this one. Didn't forget, but in the manner in which they needed to, flushed the last game and went about the business of getting prepared for the Warhawks. And now we find out if they're mature enough to move past, we saw them be mature enough to move past failure to work and get better. Can they move past having success and flush that and move on to the next game? And, we'll find that out pretty early, literally, on Saturday.
Disregard the opponent. It's hard to be perfect, especially as a college quarterback at the FBS level. Ty Simpson was that, Chris, on Saturday. What did you see from Ty Simpson that maybe leads you to believe that you're going to get the Ty Simpson that everyone thought they were going to get in all of the comments and people who were watching fall practice and talking about his development?
I think just seeing him actually get the job done. They've seen it in practice. They've known what he's capable of, and to see him go about his business, not be rattled by what happened to the team, because it wasn't just him. In fact, he probably took a little more criticism than when you're breaking it down. He actually deserved, even though there were obvious mistakes in the FSU game. But I thought his ability to just focus on what he could control and get the job done. I mean, we all say it. I mean, but 17 of 17 against air is tough to do, let alone against the defense. And he made the right reads. He made the right throws. And obviously the line gave him more time to throw. They did some things to get the ball out of his hands a little quicker. And sometimes that's the design, and you just have a missed assignment or a mistake by the quarterback himself, and that doesn't happen at the rate that you want to see it done. But obviously the execution was at a very high level, and hopefully this gives them confidence that they should have going into a tougher opponent in Wisconsin.
Before we look ahead to Wisconsin, coming to Bryant-Denny, 11 o'clock kickoff coming up on Saturday, I wanted to ask you about the defense. Still only one sack registered. That came from the secondary against Florida State. Just your overall thoughts on where the defense currently is and how they looked as you were looking at the all 11 as they were going against La Monroe on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, obviously better. You're not playing a team that was as talented and as skilled as FSU, but and I do think we probably have a little more respect for. I say we. I'm talking about we as football observers, uh, not even as fans of Alabama. But I think there's a lot more respect for Florida State today than there was even a week ago. Um, Again, they didn't beat the 49ers. They beat East Texas A&M or whoever they played last week, but they still were awfully good. And so I think maybe part of it is this Florida State team's better than we anticipated, but also Bama's not as bad as they played at times in that game against FSU. The defense was terrific. I mean, you give you have as many possessions as you do in a game like that, and you don't allow anything, and they only got across midfield a couple of times on the day. It was beyond solid. It was dominating, which is what Alabama's supposed to have against ULM. But as we know from about 20 years ago, that doesn't always happen against ULM or teams that are comparable. So nice to see them get the job done and be as good as they were on defense, force so many 3-and-outs, especially early, that gave that offense a chance to get back on the field and keep cooking.
Voice of the Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart, joining us courtesy of Craneworks on the Higginbotham Hotline. Wisconsin rolls in to Bryant-Denny on Saturday. Early kick there in Tuscaloosa. What have you seen from the Badgers that potentially could give Alabama problems?
Look, just to be candid, I don't think they're as good a team, as talented a team as they were a year ago. They made some changes, and part of it is with their coordinator, the looks they'll get from the coordinator. But they're a bigger, stronger, faster team than the one Alabama played this past week. They're not as good as Florida State, or they don't appear to be, but that doesn't mean that they can't cause problems if you don't play well and don't play efficiently. The good news there's certainly more good news this week than a week ago at this time in terms of how you feel about yourself. But one thing that has been consistent through 2 games, Alabama hadn't turned the football over, and that's very good to see. You hope they'll be just as stingy with the football, maybe create another turnover or two, even though they did a good job with that last week. And regardless of what Wisconsin looks like, this will be another clean performance that allows you to take care of business early, as they did up in Madison a year ago.
Chris Stewart joins us, brought to you by Craneworks, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, as the Tide get ready to, only the second time in the history of Bryant-Denny Stadium, a Big Ten team will come calling there in Tuscaloosa. Let's talk about the injury front for Alabama. Not asking you for an injury report on these individuals, but it seems like, based on what Kalen DeBoer has said at his weekly press conferences, and he'll speak to the SEC media here in a couple minutes, maybe he'll have an update, but Tim Keenan, Ryan Williams, what can you tell us about them? Jam Miller, do you anticipate any of those 3 possibly playing against Wisconsin?
Yeah, I would be a little surprised to see Tim, given the nature of his injury and the fact that you're going to have an off week, and possibly Jam as well. I don't know what the exact plan is with him. I haven't talked with anybody in the coaching staff since Saturday, but I do think there's a really good chance you'll see Ryan Williams back. He practiced last week, which was a great surprise to me when I came out to the practice field last Wednesday. He was in full practice gear, and even though he was non-contact, he was running drills, and he looked like Ryan Williams. He was dressed and went through pregame warm-up Saturday in Tuscaloosa before he changed out of the gear when they went to come out and play the game, because he was on the shelf for that one. But great to see that he's at least doing those or was doing those things. And unless there's been a setback, I would be surprised if we didn't see him get some snaps in this game this week.
Well, Chris, your segment and your visit with us every single week here on Three Man Front, it's brought to us by our friends at Craneworks, and that is the name that people trust, especially here in the state of Alabama and across the Southeast when it comes to heavy equipment rental, and they've got a lot of different things that they can provide, and they make it so easy.
Yeah, they really do. Great experience as well when you do it for 30 years, and whether you're talking about a 2.5 ton crane or a 500 ton piece of machinery, they've got trained and certified operators that'll help do the job for you, as well as getting the equipment to you. And they're also pretty conveniently located around your listening audience, Birmingham, Nashville, Mobile, and up in Huntsville as well. You can find out more by going to craneworks.com.
Chris, have a great call. We know you will on Saturday, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all very much.
Appreciate you. Chris Stewart, presented by Craneworks on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham's your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. We will head to the great state of Tennessee coming up in about 15 minutes. Vince Ferrara is going to join us. We got a big one on Rocky Top, Georgia, Alabama's opponent after Wisconsin taking on the Vols. Much more of your phone calls and your text Wednesday here on Three Man Front. We are Jocks. 11:16, three-man front on this Wednesday. Already a very busy show. Brian Edwards, our Vegas insider, he gave us a book of college and NFL picks. Also, some futures out there as well. You can find that at the podcast. Just had our weekly conversation with Chris Stewart, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. A brief review of what we saw versus Louisiana Monroe and a preview of Alabama and Wisconsin coming up Saturday in Tuscaloosa. Well, coming up this afternoon, you got the Fennec. The Fennec is open beginning this afternoon, and you can enjoy live acoustic music, but not only that, enjoy great food. Wednesday through Friday, you get that acoustic music, 5:30 through 8 o'clock. And then Fridays at 10 o'clock, they got bands that crank up. And man, Pat, this is one that will resonate with you and a lot of our listeners back to our college days, maybe even post-college days. The Velcro Pygmies.
Yes!
Yes,
Woo!
right? Velcro Pygmies, you can get your tickets in advance. That's coming up this Friday at the Fennec, September the 12th. The Pygmies will be there. And that's all I need to say. If you're familiar with the Pygmies, that will be a great date night. Great date night. And if you, well, just, it'll be a great date night. So go and check them out. Conrad's like, what? No, that is, we had them, I think, for 3 different formals that
Did
came
you
and
really?
played 3 different formals when I was in college. Yeah. But the Fennec, also a great menu. You've got wings that win MVPs. You got wood-fire grilled burgers and steaks so good you're going to forget there's a game on. Also, that's where you want to watch your games. They got the video boards, the large screens everywhere, optimum sound system. They'll turn it up for the big games. So if you want to watch Alabama and Wisconsin, Auburn, South Alabama, you can certainly do that, and all the other big games when it comes to college football, but also the NFL. Sunday, that's your place to watch the NFL, and also Monday Night Football. It's the Fennec, 1630 2nd Avenue South near Railroad Park, and don't forget, they got the Pygmies coming this Friday.
The NCAA, they have released a finding this morning, and yeah, man, they still got teeth. At least a couple of them left in the NCAA. The NCAA ruled this morning that they found sports betting-related game manipulation by 3 athletes who competed in men's basketball at Fresno State and San Jose State. The athletes, Mikael Robinson, Steven Vasquez, and Jalen Weaver, they have permanently been banned from college basketball. They will never be able to play another second of collegiate basketball. They have been banned by the NCAA. Pretty rough. When in their findings that they absolutely not only bet on their own basketball games, but they manipulated the game's outcome to help their own prop bets. So they have been banned from college basketball.
Yeah, can't be doing that.
Very interesting. You think it goes on more than we know?
You better believe it. You kidding me?
There's, 3 of them?
Mm-hmm.
Integrity found them, but yeah, you can't convince me that. I'm not saying it's widespread, but it certainly has to go on.
So Ryan Williams has taken the under on his receiving yards for the last 10 games?
We didn't say that. I'm not calling out anyone
I'm
specifically.
kidding.
No, but I did. All right, so the SEC coaches teleconference is currently going on. Billy Napier, he's just been doing the normal coach speak. We're not even going to bore you with what he's been saying. It's
Been
just
building a lot.
Yeah, we've been
Lots of
building a lot.
goals.
The foundation is here. We didn't forget football. You know, you've heard it a million times.
You want John Gruden, you get John Gruden.
Yeah. But meanwhile, maybe the quote so far of the morning has come from Brian Kelly. If I understand this clip you're about to hear, this is Brian Kelly, his comments about the one-time transfer portal that is going to go into effect in January. This is what Brian Kelly said this morning on the teleconference.
We're in support of the new portal window to a man in the SEC, and I've talked to many that believe across the country this is the progress that we need to make. I want to get my roster set. Now, I know there's probably 12 or 16 teams that might be in the playoffs at that time. I'm sorry, there's no crying on the yacht. I mean, we got to get this thing set, and it's best positioned at this time to allow us to set our rosters moving forward.
There you go.
I'm totally using that moving forward. No crying on the yacht.
That's right. Coming from a multimillionaire.
Well, if you think about it, right, if you want to say the teams in the playoff are at a slight disadvantage when it comes to the portal window and the timing and all that, wouldn't that just kind of be like college football's version of the draft?
Yes.
Right? Because in the NFL draft,
Perfect example.
the best team, you get the last pick. The worst team gets the first pick.
And
Parity.
and save it, Ryan Day. Let's not pretend like your staff is not tampering all season long and you've got these deals already in place. Give me a break. Why does the Big Ten always have to be the cog in the wheel?
So yesterday, just for a fun exercise, Landrum during a commercial break, he pulled up the Ohio State roster. And it's pretty amazing how many players from deep inside the SEC footprint that all of a sudden these players are finding their way to Columbus, Ohio, the wonderful city of Columbus, Ohio.
2 starting defensive tackles. We were talking about NIL and who was paying for what, and the SEC was paying more for defensive linemen, right?
Yep.
Defensive tackles starting for Ohio State. You know where they hail from? One from North Gwinnett, the other from Buford High School.
Used to be the hotbeds for Alabama and Georgia. Those guys would not even think about going north.
Now you got some Ohio that's in there on that side, but we're talking about where it's won and lost. Yeah, Georgia boys.
Well, and that goes into the quote that Nick Saban had last week that Danny Cannell got his feathers all ruffled about, which was the insinuation that in the past, all these guys came to the South, right? Because you wanted the tradition, you wanted to play in the SEC, you wanted the warm climate, but now the money is what is drawing those kids to the North. It's not, the Big Ten's better than the SEC. It's they're paying more money in some cases.
It's the bottom line. It's what it is. It's who's going to offer you the most amount of money for your services. Doesn't matter. I mean, seriously, you might have people go to Minneapolis, St. Paul to play football if they're going to earn, $5,000 more than going somewhere else in the Deep South. That's just the way it is now.
And it's paid off. You cannot convince me that Caleb Downs at Alabama last year is not at least worth one more win, if not 2.
Yes. No question. I think he probably would have been a very vital piece to that puzzle in Knoxville against Tennessee.
Yeah, I think for Vanderbilt as well, with some of the throws you had there. I think even, you look at this year, I'm not saying they would have won the game, but I think that Florida State game maybe looks a little less lopsided, at least, if he's there.
And not to mention if Justice Haynes, I hate to sound like Mike Griffith, but if Justice Haynes was still on the Alabama roster.
Well, he'd be trying to fight our quarterback, so we don't want that.
At least he's got some fire.
That's a good point, Pat. He does
Unlike
have
your
that.
strong safety that loafed during the Florida State game.
Hey, he said yesterday that that has been corrected.
Didn't he say that was the gasoline on the fire for him?
Yeah, he said,
Yeah.
Have you ever poured gasoline on a fire? That's what that did to me. That was Bray Hubbard's response. Hey, played a lot better last Saturday. See how he plays this Saturday.
So if you missed the interview with Chris Stewart just a couple of moments ago, and I'm not putting words in his mouth, I think I'm paraphrasing, but did he not say that he believes that this team is probably weaker? Talking about Wisconsin?
Yeah, they're better. They were better last year than they are
This year.
Yes. Well, and they're already on their backup quarterback, as we discussed yesterday.
And also, they've got some offensive line issues on the team. So, but their defense,
Sack the quarterback.
But their defense is.
Oh yeah.
But it was. You want to talk about? They're not an FCS opponent, but Middle Tennessee State. That was an interesting game in the first half against Wisconsin in Madison. So when we come back, we're going to head up to K-Town, K-Ville, Rocky Top, home of the 88 World's Fair?
Sure.
I didn't go, but they built that big stratosphere or whatever it is in Knoxville. Was it 88? Was I right?
Oh, I don't know. But
you're
you're
talking
talking
about the
about the big
stratosphere?
globe thing.
Yeah, now you're going to make me look. See if I was right. Might have been 84.
It's 1982.
82.
It was in the 80s.
Yeah, well, there you go. That was 82 was a great year. Cardinals won the World Series, beat the Brewers. Yeah, 4-3. It's fantastic. Good year.
I was 3.
It's a good year. All right, we're going to talk to Vince Farrar. He's going to join the show from our sister station, the sports animal in Knoxville. He'll give us a preview of the Knoxville contingency hosting the Georgia Bullpups coming up this week. That's next. No, it's not the third Saturday in October. It's the second weekend in September, but it's a big one up on Rocky Top this weekend as the Tennessee Vols will be hosting the Georgia Bulldogs. We'll find out a lot about both teams. And joining us now from our sister station up in Knoxville, from the Sports Animal, Vince Ferrara joins us here on the program. Vince, I hope you're doing well, and you guys got plenty of content like we do down here.
Yeah, doing great. Loving college football's back, and we got football almost every day. It's a beautiful thing, and then it really ramps up, as you know, this weekend whenever these two get together, and you got Checker Nealon, and it's a SEC opener. It's a big deal. So yeah, it's exciting. But yeah, I'm doing great. Hope you guys are doing well.
Doing fantastic. Let's start at where Tennessee has been. Not last weekend. It was an impressive performance against obviously a lower opponent. But I want to go back to the Syracuse game because a lot of people will point to that because actually Tennessee's played a team with a pulse as opposed to what Georgia has played the first 2 weeks. How much do you think that will come into play for the confidence standpoint for Tennessee going up against Georgia?
well, certainly, like you mentioned, better competition week one. Plus, it wasn't at home. It was a neutral site game at the Aflac Kickoff Classic at the Dome. So, it was a new experience for a lot of players. This team, like a lot of teams, has, first-year players in the program, either transfers or freshmen, redshirt freshmen that hadn't played. They got their first opportunity. And the big thing is they got an opportunity to see the brand new quarterback in Joey Aguilar and get him some work. And I thought he played really well, looked comfortable and poised and confident. He's a really confident Cali kid anyway. So I thought they checked a lot of boxes in that game. Maybe the defense wasn't as sharp as we've come to expect with Tim Banks' defense, and I think they'll be fine on that side of the ball. But they're missing some players. Some other guys went down in the game. 2 starters went down in that game. So they have a lot of young players playing. Now that's one of the questions about this week is who do they get back? So I thought they did a lot of really good things in all 3 phases. And then last week, obviously they got a chance to play young players, but a number of those guys will not see the field this week as they went way deep into the roster for playing time. But yeah, Syracuse is a good opponent. They got some yards on Tennessee defensively, but Tennessee was dominant in all phases offensively. So yeah, I do think there's a carryover with the confidence they've gotten.
Vince, from your listeners to just Tennessee fans, how often are you hearing now, and I've got to think it's just human nature, and we as college football fans, we kind of go this route, but when you look at Joey Aguilar, you look at Nico, and he should have been the quarterback coming back this season. How many folks are saying maybe this was a blessing in disguise and maybe Aguilar is the better guy for that job?
They have been saying that from the second that whole went down, and the whole thing went down in the spring. Absolutely. They were basically taking the approach of don't let the door hit you in the backside on your way out because of the way things happened and him asking for the money. And you know how it is. People say, well, he's not worth it. What has he done? The NIL isn't about getting exactly what you've produced. It's not a dollar per stat type of thing. It's the market. And his family way overestimated the market that he had and the leverage that he had, and he misplayed it. He ended up in a worse situation. Granted, he's closer to home. He ends up on a worse team. And Tennessee got the quarterback that he kind of bumped out, and they chose not to go with. And now Tennessee in the trade has had the better playing quarterback, and Tennessee fans were all for him embraced him when he got here, even if they didn't know a lot about him. Because he wasn't Nico, and they would have embraced any of the other guys that would have won the starting job because he's not Nico. So it's funny. People will, if we bring Nico up, people will say, well, shut up. I don't want to hear about Nico. He's not one of us anymore. He's gone. He's old news. But then the second he throws a pick or doesn't play well or his team loses, then fans are more than willing to rejoice on that. So it's kind of both ways. But Tennessee fans have embraced Joey Aguilar. He's played great. He's played better than Nico all the 2 games in, and so there's been no problem backing him. And he said all the right things. He is humble. He's available. His teammates rave about him, and he's played well. He hasn't turned the ball over, which is one of the questions about him coming in. He had too many interceptions at App State. His completion percentage wasn't high enough to where that's what Josh Heupel quarterbacks do. And both of those things have been much improved with a better team around him and the coaching that he's getting at Tennessee. So everybody's excited about the quarterback play so far.
Not that Gunnar Stockton has put a lot of fear in a lot of secondaries, but it is interesting because, and you can update us on this, I guess the 2 starting cornerbacks, Ricky Gibson, who is right here from Birmingham, he went to Hewitt-Trussville High School, and Jermod McCoy, both of those guys were injured. Are they both expected not to play against Georgia as of this moment?
Yeah, I would not expect to see either one of them. Pete Thamel reported that earlier this week. Really, there wasn't the expectation for either one of them to go anyway, especially because Ricky Gibson went down in the Syracuse game. He played 19 snaps, and then obviously missed last week. But Josh Heupel said pretty quickly that he would be out an extended period of time. So yeah, he will be out. And then Jermod McCoy, he tore his ACL in a workout in January, and those tend to take a long time. Now he's done some individual work in practices before, but still probably a little ways away before he can get on the field. We'll see. Tennessee, like a lot of SEC teams, very, very private about their injuries. Josh Heupel now, because we're in the SEC play, can say what he loves saying, and that's reference the availability report that'll be out starting on Wednesday. So we'll look to see if there's anything crazy there, maybe just to kind of make people talk. Maybe they'll list one or both of those as doubtful. Who knows? But both of those guys expect to be out, and also one of their key defensive linemen, defensive tackles in the rotation, a former 5-star, and David Hobbs. He's expected to be out in the game as well. Plus 2 other D linemen missed last week in Jackson Moore, a starter who got hurt early in that Syracuse game as well, and Tyree Weathersby, another one of the rotational defensive ends. Both of those guys were out last week. We'll see if they get both of them. So you're talking about potentially worst case scenario, 3 starters on defense and then 2 other prime rotational guys on the D line that if none of them are available, you could be without against a really high level team.
They are a high-level team, and we know, Vince, that they're very talented. What do you make of Georgia? A lot of people talking about last week's lackluster performance against Austin Peay offensively, at least. What do you make, although it's just through 2 games, of this Georgia offense so far?
Probably not too much to overreact to, and I know it's easy to look at last week with that mediocre and uninspired performance against Austin Peay. There was the weather delay, which added another level of weird to it to be difficult to fully judge. Those guys didn't look up for that game in a lot of ways, but they were sharp against Marshall. The passing game probably exceeded what some people might have expected. The defense is still going to be and is very good. And we've seen it in the past where teams maybe didn't have the best game prior to coming to play the Tennessee Volunteers, and then they completely level up in that game. And it's a whole different dynamic. I mean, these games in SEC play, you got to look at them in a bubble sometimes rather than how they're playing coming in. You just never know. Ole Miss is a prime example of that. Nobody saw Kentucky doing what they did to Ole Miss last year in getting their only SEC win. Georgia lost to Ole Miss prior to playing Tennessee, and then they outscored Tennessee 14-0 in the second half and went on to win their 8th straight against the Vols last year, because people were talking about, this is the year that Tennessee can beat Georgia, even though it's in Athens. And then that didn't play out. So it's happened with Florida teams that you're like, oh man, they're limping into this game, and then they level up. So you got to be careful about just looking at how a team is coming in. I know I started looking at and digging into the talent level on Georgia because I've studied them in the past. All right, just how much 4- and 5-star talent do they have? 24/7 does a layout for you. They do a lot of the work for you. And Georgia is number 1 in the country in roster talent based on recruiting rankings. They have 13 5-stars on their roster and 57 4-stars. So that's 60 of their 85 scholarship are either 4 or 5 stars. That's ridiculous. Tennessee is ranked 16th. They have 4 5-stars and 43 4-stars. Not too bad, but that just shows you there's still a lot of talent there on that Georgia team, even if you haven't heard about those names yet because they're maybe moving up in roles. There's still talent there. I personally, my concern about them is I don't know if they have a ready-to-go first-rounder on or as many of them on that defense. And then I still have some questions about Gunnar Stockton. I don't know if he's Stetson Bennett, if he's enough of that, even if he doesn't wow you with the measurables, or if he's going to be closer to a Carson Beck who in his best year was really good in the pocket. I'm still not totally sold there, and that could be a window of opportunity potentially for Tennessee.
Vince, I know a lot of people in our neck of the woods kind of did a readjustment after the Florida State loss for Alabama. I'm just curious if Tennessee were to win, whatever they win or lose this game coming up, will there be an adjustment in regards to where the fans believe the ceiling is for this Tennessee team this year in the SEC?
I don't, unless they get housed again. And look, it's happened in the series. Every one of the 8 games in Georgia's win streak have been double digits. Last year's 14-point loss was the closest. And then I think it jumps up to 20 after that. So these games have not been especially close. And I think fans, with the spread only being 3.5, which is the lowest that I can remember it in a long, long time, that I think will, because fans are feeling that you get them at home. Josh Heupel's had unbelievable success at home. That this is a year Georgia doesn't look like they're as loaded or the surest thing in college football anymore like they have been in the past. I think fans really believe, and when the fans adjust their expectations, even if you play up to what the realistic expectations were, it's still not to where the fans believe you are. So believe you should be. So that's where there will be disappointment and reaction to it. But if they get blown out, if it's a close game and maybe it comes down to an officiating call, or as long as it's not the coach making a bad decision, I think fans will say, all right, we can hang with Georgia, we can beat Alabama, which they've done to the last 3 years, and then Oklahoma, we can beat everybody else on our schedule, and they still feel good about it. But if they get housed, I think fans are gonna ask questions, fair or not.
Vince Ferrara, you can hear his voice, his work there on the Vol Network. Also, weekdays there on our sister station, the Sports Animal 99.1 in Knoxville. Vince, we always appreciate the time. Thank you so much. Should be a fun one this weekend.
It will be, no doubt about it. Thanks so much for having me. Always fun to be on with you guys.
Likewise, Vince Ferrara joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham's your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
Well, this month only at Courtesy GMC, it's the kickoff sales event going on right now, right off of I-459, exit 32 in Trussville. And they're bringing the lowest prices in the Southeast, not just the Birmingham or the Alabama. I'm talking about the entire Southeast. Get up to $15,000 off an all-new 2025 Sierra 1500. Go bigger with the Sierra 2500 HD. Get $12,000 off that vehicle. And it's just not on trucks. Drive off in a brand new Yukon or Acadia with up to $5,000 off in savings. Plus, every new GMC comes with the exclusive 7-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Get out and see the fantastic folks there at Courtesy GMC in Trussville. It's a very short drive right off of I-459 exit 32, right next to Lowe's. You can't miss it. Go by and see Josh Gargis, Drew Lally, Tommy Rowan, and all the fine folks there. 9 acres of inventory for you to peruse, or go to their website, courtesybirmingham.com.
Very interesting nuggets from Vince Ferrara, what we just heard concerning the big one coming up in Knoxville between the Georgia Bulldogs and the Tennessee Vols. We'll get into it, more of your texts as well. 3-man front on this Wednesday, Jocks.
We will share with you some breaking news coming from Kalen DeBoer in regards to some player availability. We'll tell you who's potentially going to play and who may not play coming up on Saturday.
Well, Big Whiskey's is the place for great food of all varieties with a full menu with apps, salads, burgers, and steaks. Their bar features unique cocktails, over 120 whiskeys, including whiskey on tap, and plenty of screens so that you can catch all the football action all weekend long. They also offer different food and drink specials for each day of the week. They have happy hour, and the kitchen is open late every night. So go see them in the Stadium Trace Village off Highway 150 near the Hoover Met.
All right, Conrad, you've been monitoring the SEC teleconference, and Kalen DeBoer just a few moments ago gave the reporters a little bit of an update on some injuries and who may be available come Saturday.
Yeah, and I don't think any of this will come as a massive surprise to anybody, but we'll start off. So Jamarian Latham, Jam Miller, and Tim Keenan, all going to be game time decisions for Saturday's game against Wisconsin. Ryan Williams, according to Coach DeBoer, his quote, "We expect him to play." And then Danny Lewis, the tight end, is going to be unavailable for Alabama this weekend. So Ryan Williams should be a go. Danny Lewis, a no-go. And then Jamarian Latham, Jam Miller, Tim Keenan, game time decisions.
Play well, make an impact, or just play?
I think just play. Are you asking that for
It's just
Mr. Williams?
a projection.
So of the four players, how many of those four do you think will actually be on the field to take a snap?
I think Ryan Williams will certainly play. I do not think Tim Keenan or Jamarian Latham will play. I think Jam Miller is legitimately a game time decision.
So two of the four, possibly.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if all three of those guys, they hold them out until the Georgia game.
To
because
me,
you also get the bye week, so you get an extra week of rest for those guys.
Just need at that position and what you're facing coming up down the line. Tim Keenan, even if I know he's ready to come back, nope.
Unless he is 100% healthy.
I don't even bring him back then. I debut him against Georgia.
Yeah, I agree. And probably the same for Jam Miller.
Yes. Because, again, I mean, the same thing of certain things that aren't going to be on tape.
And I mean, I've been told that Jam Miller has been absolutely chomping at the bit. Like, he wants to play.
The last thing I want to do is not have Tim Keenan available for Georgia to start SEC play. Heaven forbid you get one of those big
Oh, you're right.
Big Ten offensive lineman rolls up on him.
No, you're right. I agree. I think Tim Keenan's the one you absolutely by no means don't mess with that.
No, I don't think you're going to have him.
Let him go hype up Kalen DeBoer on the sideline again like last week, and he's good to go. That seemed to work quite well.
He's like the corner man.
Hey, if that's what it takes, then let's do it.
So this is interesting. And we had the voice of the Wisconsin Badgers on the show yesterday. And I pointed out before he came on, I wasn't going to be disrespectful, but Luke Fickell does not have a win against a ranked opponent as the head coach at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
That's hard to believe. But what would a win do for Wisconsin if they were to beat Alabama? The Badgers' last ranked win was October 30th.
That can't be right, Pat.
I'm sitting here looking at the Wisconsin media notes.
Last time they beat a ranked team was 2021.
The Badgers' first ranked win since this. What would a win do against Alabama? It would be the first ranked win since October 30th, 2021 versus number 9 Iowa. They beat them 27-7. It gets better. If they were to beat Alabama on Saturday, it would be Wisconsin's first ranked win since October 23rd, 20.
It was ranked?
Days when they
21.
Okay.
Well, they also took Ohio State to the woodshed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they would do that, and then they would throw up all over themselves the very next week.
Correct.
A Wisconsin win at Alabama would be the first win over an SEC opponent since September 3rd, 2016, when they beat number 5 LSU 16-14. The win against Alabama on Saturday would be the first ever road win by Wisconsin against an SEC program ever. It's never happened. And a Wisconsin win Saturday against Alabama would be the first non-ranked loss for Alabama in 85 consecutive games.
No.
And Conrad will be there.
No.
Bright and early.
What time are you going to start?
Well,
Are you covering for the station or are
he's
you
yeah,
going as a
no,
fan?
I have to be there. No, I'm there for work. This is a business trip, Landrum.
Okay, so that means collar and hygiene.
Yes, no. Yeah, my wife said last week, said, "Oh, so how many drinks did you have at the game?" I said, 0. She goes, "You can't drink in the press box?" I said, No, you cannot.
Wait. She really asked you?
I'm dead serious. She's like, "I didn't know. I thought they might let y'all drink in there." I said,
Bless them.
That would be so dangerous.
"How?" I was like,
No, there's been times that me and Pat have been in the press box and we thought maybe somebody was drinking.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, you've never seen a media group when there's an open bar or something, and
Yeah,
how that
that's,
goes.
that would be dangerous. Not dangerous because you were in there with alcohol. I'm talking about just
everybody.
our brethren
Correct.
in the business.
Yep.
That's I mean, heck, if you have a free chocolate cake that needs to be cut, that thing will be devoured in like 5 seconds.
If
Can
you had
imagine
a
what it would be
if
with
you had a
alcohol?
fruit cake that was half molded from last Christmas,
And it
and
was
you put
free?
it out there on a platter, somebody would eat it.
You're right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
3-week-old hot dogs
Yep.
sitting in that water, yeah, they'll eat it.
Best thing you can do is get with whoever's in dining and just pull them to the side before it all gets started and say, "Hey, when are you going to bring out those hot dogs for the snack?" And they'll let you know.
Well, I figured out. Yeah, you kind of got to get.
There's strategy involved.
I was about to say a little before halftime, you kind of start to work your way towards the area, maybe go to the bathroom real quick, and then just kind of linger for a minute. But yeah, great hospitality last weekend. We'll see what the breakfast spread is. On
Yeah,
Saturday.
if you're the sideline guy and you come up to the press box at halftime and you go into media dining, there's a good chance that you get nothing except for small condiment packages.
And crackers.
Not even crackers.
I'm talking about like those baby crackers for salads. You know what I'm talking about?
The captain's wafers?
Yes, that's what I'm talking
Yes.
about. All right.
so filling.
Yeah, we're halfway home on this Wednesday. Thanks for making us part of your day. We will roll along as the second part of the program begins. We'll talk to Trey Wallace from Outkick. So much to get into this next 2 hours. Hope you'll be a part of it right here on Jocks.